Hello everyone and welcome to Article Study on Scholar Academics. In this video, we will be discussing and identifying the US elections. Here's what environmental scientists want from a president, okay? So this study is on September 24th, 2020 and this is on the day I'm making this video. So this is related to this day, okay? So let's get started. Which science-based considerations are most important for the country's environment? That's going to be the main topic, okay? And this is in the section of environmental issues of science. While voting always carry a great degree of subjectivity, objective measures are also important. While voting, we always carry a great degree of subjectivity. Objective measures are also important. Here are the measures environmental scientists hope to see from the future US president. So this image credit goes to Thomas Richter. First things first, take science seriously. The US presidential elections is probably the most followed political event. It's so consequential that it affects not only the US but the entire world. Naturally, researchers both inside the US and out are closely following the event. Understandably, the first thing climate scientists want is for the US president to take climate change seriously. Okay, that is also very important. That is right for the environmental science, okay? Because America is a democratic country, so the people in that country get to vote for the president and they get to vote for the decisions of the country. Data and science speaks for itself. There is no dearth of data which shows that climate change has impacted our natural environment, weather patterns, health and economy. It is time to act. We have to make alternative choices which are greener, healthier and environmentally friendly, says Chandana Mitra, associate professor in the Department of Geoscience at Auburn University. In a brief for SciLine, all quotes presented in the article are from the same brief. Linda Shi, PhD assistant professor at the Cornell University Department of City and Regional Planning, agrees a climate is absolutely mandatory. Well, that is true. Climate change is redrawing the landscape of areas suitable for human habitation. The U.S. National Climate Assessment and innumerable other reports have clearly outlined the past and future costs at risk of climate change, economically, physically, environmentally, socially. As with COVID-19, what we do have is any semblance of a plan that is coherent, cohesive, collective, and commensurate to the scale of climate risks and impact. The U.S. is currently in limbo. President Donald Trump has started the process to leave the Paris Agreement, a global deal aimed at stopping emissions. The U.S. would become the only country in the world to leave the agreement. Meanwhile, candidate Joe Biden has vowed to rejoin the Paris Agreement if he wins the election. What's in a climate plan? Okay, this image credit goes to Lee and Lim. So what would be in such a plan? Angel Hasu, assistant professor at the Department of Public Policy, Energy, Environment and Ecology at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, emphasizes that the need is pressing and cannot be delayed. The main goal, decarbonization. The science on climate change is clear. We need to have global greenhouse gas emission by 2030 and fully decarbonized by 2050 if we have any hope of avoiding the most dangerous effect of climate change, including sea level rise, extreme temperature, drought, floods, and other impacts. Because number one thing candidates' plan should be doing is having a clear plan for how they're going to shift the U.S. energy system away from fossil fuels. We simply cannot reach the goal of decarbonization if we are still burning fossil fuels, including natural gas. Indeed, numerous studies have shown that we can only stop climate change if we stop burning fossil fuels, but that's only the first step. Stop burning fossil fuels, but that's only the first step. We need structural systematic changes in society, argues Mitra. Less deforestation, creating more green spaces, more efficient fuel, trapping renewable energy like wind, solar, and waves, electrical vehicles, climate change, education, and awareness. All of these will help us slow and eventually stall the climate change wheel, leaving behind a better world for the future generations. Okay, so basically it means that most people think that when stop burning fuels is the only way to stop this, but there are other ways like no deforestation. Deforestation basically means not cutting trees down, and it has a big impact on many things such as survival for the animals and also humans. Now, because of the cutting of trees, the trees' roots help in keeping the sea level rises to keep it down, because the roots they suck up water so that the sea level doesn't rise. Okay, but when we're cutting them down, the roots are also being cut down or getting weak. Now, this can also cause a lot of damage to the human world. So stop cutting down trees and try to use more efficient ways of survival. Okay. The physical policies also need to be ambitious, emphasizes Hasu. Technology and personal modification can only get you so far, but they can't end climate change on their own. For that, we need proper policy. We need candidates that will put in the hard work to specify broad policies like carbon taxes, removal of fossil fuels, subsidies, fiscal incentives for renewable electricity consumption that will rapidly shift the nation's energy system away from polluting fossil fuels. Now, one entrepreneur is very helping in this situation. This entrepreneur is ahead of the world 5 times faster. His name is Elon Musk, the world's real Iron Man. He has created the cars which don't use fossil fuels. He has created cars which can run up to 70 miles with only electricity. Now, how's that? Not even electricity, it uses solar power. So these cars go with solar power, and these cars model name are Tesla. They are now being used to help and prevent the climate change. President Trump has not currently put forth a coherent climate plan, and it's doubtful whether he will. Throughout his administration, climate has been minimum priority, with the president dismantling existing environmental and climate protections rather than establishing new ones. Joe Biden has released a climate plan that received mixed opinions. While some praised it, others felt it wasn't nearly ambitious enough, falling short on matters such as fracking. Okay, now next heading is driving towards a sustainable future. This image credit goes to Andrew Roberts. Prior to the pandemic, the transportation sector was on the cusp of a revolution in Europe. The pace is more accelerated, but the way things are now, there are many questions that remain. Will our society move more from home? Will we be more prepared to walk and bike? Or will we continue to be so auto-focused? Again, researchers want to see a candidate with a vision for sustainable transportation. Public policy and investments in both physical and digital infrastructure have the potential to shape these outcomes. While the impact are uncertain, vehicle automations will likely change traditional transportation behaviors which have been around for decades. While vehicle automations could help bridge first mile, last mile connections and fill service gaps, it could also contribute to increased vehicle uses and congestion. Policies will likely be needed to encourage the sustainable adoption of these emerging technologies, notes Susan Shaheen, professor of civil and environmental engineering and co-director at the Transportation Sustainability Research Center, University of California, Berkeley. So University of California, Berkeley is a very big university. You can go there. It is very popular too. Several countries, most notably in Europe, have already announced the phase out of non-electric cars over the next decade or two. The US is still lagging behind, and it's also lagging behind in other regards, such as carpooling and mass transit. In addition to a phase out of non-electric cars, there are also challenges regarding infrastructure. Safe, efficient, and reliable transportation infrastructure is critical to the national economy as well as Americans' quality of life. Our national transportation infrastructure needs a major update to ensure travel safety. Environmental sustainability and economic growth, says Yin-Hai Wang, professor of civil and environmental engineering at University of Washington. Transportation is the second largest category of American household spending, accounting for 17.4% of $811 per month in 2017. On average, rural motor oil purchases accounted for 23.6% of transportation expenditures, or $290 billion in the U.S., and the traffic congestions resulting from the cars using that fuel cost the U.S. economy near $87 billion in 2018 due to loss of productivity. Now that's a big amount of money for the government, so let's help stop climate change. Both candidates have addressed transportation. President Donald Trump has focused on building new highways and infrastructure projects at the expense of public transportation. Well, that's not helpful in climate change. Trump himself has advocated cuts in public transportation, both on the road and on the railway. At the same time, Trump has been an opponent of electric cars, nixing existing efficiency and sustainability standards. Joe Biden has addressed the need to reduce transportation emissions and is seen by most analysts and as a boon for electric cars. Biden's plan also addresses mass transit, offering less funds for highways and more funds for cities over 100,000 people to set up quality public transportation. What about agriculture? That's a very interesting and nice topic. What about agriculture? Here too, there is much work to be done. So agriculture, there's also a lot of work to be done over there, okay? The US is the world's largest agricultural exporter and has a long history of agricultural innovations and progress. The challenges are intense and clearly laid out by existing science, says Lewis Ziska, Associate Professor of Environmental Health Science at Columbia University. With respect to climate change and U.S. agriculture, current research suggests two primary challenges. The first is an increased risk of physical disruption, extreme changes such as drought, spearing, flooding, or derecho that can increase crop losses and disrupt normal farm operations. The second challenge is biological. As the climate change, pest, weeds, insects, diseases, distributions will also change, posing new risks for crop productions and pest management. But if there are challenges, there are also opportunities, adds Ziska. But there's a pressing need for more research, as our understanding of how climate changes affect agriculture is still lagging. If, for example, warmer weather results in a longer free season, how can crop selection and management be optimized to exploit that change? If extreme events, precipitation are more likely, can alternate practices such as cover crops be used to limit soil erosion or improve soil health? So vocabulary word precipitation means drops or substances falling from the sky, such as rain and other. And there are some bad types of precipitation such as rain of acids, okay, which are also very bad for the weather. So let's start. Both candidates have addressed the need to support the country's agriculture, though in different ways. Biden sees this as a cog in his larger environmental plan, while Trump has offered plenty of support to farmers in the form of handouts. Under Trump, direct farm aid has more than doubled with a largely hands-off approach without any environmental constraints. And ultimately, it's clear that the two candidates have very different takes on climate. Whether or not that will be important in the upcoming elections remain to be seen. This image credits go to Thomas Richter. Oh, okay, so it's starting here again. So it's done over here. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you got helpful information, and then please support by subscribing, or if you like the video, then please like it, or if you want to do both, then just do both by subscribing and liking. And if you have any doubts or questions, please comment below. We will reply ASAP or as fast as possible.